Hello, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Single Black Gay Dad. I have a very special guest on today's episode, Miss Kimora Amour from season 2 of Canada's A Drag Race. So you know why
I'm lighting my candles because, girl, you know how I feel.
We are going to get into it today. We have a lot to discuss.
You know, I need some sort of healing from the ancestors if I'm going to get into this.
I brought my drink.
I gotta light my candles. Oh, I got a drink. Don't get twisted.
So this video I wanted to do to clear up rumors because the video that I posted on my YouTube page, which this video is going up on, is at over 20,000 views. We're approaching 21,000 views. So a lot of the comments, ridiculous.
There's more views than I have followers on Instagram. There you go.
I didn't expect it to blow up the way that it did, but
neither did
people love drama. So,
and that's the thing. I'm like, how about you support my good endeavors? How about when I show some good old love, you give me 20,000 views? Why has it got to be the drama?
Our last video, the Drag Dad video, barely hit over 100 views, and yet you're cursing somebody out and we're at 20,000. Like, that to me is like crazy, but that's the world we live in. People like the mess, they live for the drama, so
that's it.
We're gonna give it to them.
Apparently I supply it.
This video I wanted to do for us to clear up rumors, misconceptions, because there's been a lot of false takes out there, and I want to clear up everything today in this one video. We're gonna clear it up, we're gonna shut it down, and then we're gonna Jan Jackson it going forward, and we're not discussing that any longer. We're moving forward.
Exactly. Like, I may have a few other conversations generally about it, which I'm fine. But yeah, I definitely want to squish and squash anything that is misinterpreted or misunderstood, at least from my end of things. I can't speak for anybody else, clearly. I can only speak for myself and relay things that have happened that have involved me and situations and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm just, you know what? I've had a rough few days. You know, the internet kind of blew up a little bit, and it was like, it was just like, I am just this evil, vile thing that came out of the primordial ooze of life to some or a lot of the toxic fandom, which we know exists and which we know are not Black friendly.
The girls said you're aggressive, child. They said you're aggressive.
Oh, and you know what? and I can definitely admit. That aggressive word. It's absolutely a dog whistle. But at the same time, I can honestly say that I am strong, and because I am strong, I go from non-threatening Black person being a Black gay man, because that's the one thing about being a Black gay man. We're kind of non-threatening because we're feminine and cute. I will talk about your looks and whatever. But once we are in our own strength, we then become a threat. And then we continue that narrative of the Black aggressive person, because we are strong in ourselves to be able to say no. And a Black person should never, ever, ever say no.
Oh, absolutely. Because they want us to just be happy to be there.
We should just be there and go, yes, the cotton fields need to be picked. Like, that's just how society has worked and always worked. And I don't know if it will change in our lifetime, but all I can say is I continue to be in my strength to be able to change that narrative with whatever little I can. I have a platform to demonstrate and show other people of color, other Black people, other mixed race people, that you can be strong in yourself and still retain who you are as a person. You don't have to just be angry and upset and mad all the time. There can be light and love and everything else along with it.
So the girls want to know what happened. So someone who just saw the video for the first time, doesn't know the context, what happened?
So we were, of course, at DragCon 2020, and it was our Bring Back Our Girls panel, hosted by the fabulous and ever so alcohol-infused House of Love. Uh, that drink, let me tell you something about that drink before we even go on. That drink had everyone drunk all weekend.
Lit.
When I tell you they said it was 7%, they lied. That thing was like a Four Local for drag queens. It was flowing and it was just getting everyone tipsy. I was gifted a case of it after we finished. And
I hope you save me one.
Oh, I will put it aside for you. But yeah, so that drink got everyone lit, and that started, I think, some of the emotional bringing is because we were inebriated and we were in each other's presence, not for the first time for the weekend, because we had been in each other's presence multiple times for the weekend, but we were the first time in a small group, in a small setting, in each other's presence. So it was our panel, and we got on stage, we had our introductions, we performed the entire panel. In fact, T.S. Madison, who was our wonderful host, was saying good night, good evening, and thank you for coming. It was the end of the show, and the producers of the show had made it very clear to everyone that this was to be a light and fluffy show. It was supposed to be fun. It's about the drinks. It's about the moment. TS is there. We'll get a little something, but we were not to be getting into the drama. And that was clear, and I abided by all the rules. I was there. I was loving. I was laughing. It was cute. It was done.
Until
all we had to do, all we had to do now was our group shot. But as T.S. Madison was wrapping up, we got a, excuse me, I have something to say. Kind of a moment.
And if you didn't see it, I'll link it to this video.
And then, as you guys saw, the clip happened, and we started on our tirade with
your screaming
one
match.
of our cats.
Well, the one-sided screaming match, because the other person had attitude.
Well, you know what? It wasn't dual-sided. And let me tell you something. I'm one person, and I'm wholeheartedly guilty of it. When someone is talking, and if I say, okay, hold on, and I start having to speak, and then they're talking, and I realize there's one thing, something to say, we're going to pause what you're saying for a minute, because I need to ensure that a footnote goes here. Once that footnote happens, you can continue your conversation, because I'm quiet and I'm listening. However, when I hear something false, I need to open up my mouth and say, that is incorrect, because I don't want you to continue spewing a whole bunch of lies and trying to guide the audience down a path that is not true or not correct.
And that was what was triggering for me watching it, knowing the behind the scenes that you've already talked about on Twitter and you've addressed on my channel also, was her starting her speech with, I did nothing wrong. We can't start from a place of conversation when you can't even be accountable for what you did wrong. And that's what people are saying, oh, she can't even have a simple discussion. I'm like, when you start the discussion with a lie, how do we go from here? Because you're not even acknowledging what you did.
She started the conversation, first of all, talking about excerpts from the podcast I did with Cynthia and Juicebox with their semi-qualified queens. So she started bringing up the fact that I talked about communication and how important communication is amongst the girls. And I made it clear that it is very important. But I also made it very clear that I don't think we as a group are ready to have those conversations, because we're still very much in our feelings, because there's still a lot of fresh things that have happened. So, and I'm not just speaking for myself, but I can definitely talk about the other girls, because I do know some of the girls who have other issues, who have not addressed their issues. So there's some girls who have addressed their issues, and they're very strong when they say, you know what, I'm done, I'm finished, I'm out, that's it, finish, period. And I'm moving on with the situation. There's some girls who handle that very well, and there's some girls who are like me, who are just like, you know what, I'm not ready for that conversation. When I'm in the correct space to be able to have an effective conversation, and there isn't that deep-rooted hurt where I am lashing back out you because of how angry and hurt I feel, then we can have a conversation that can be constructive. However, we got to a place that wouldn't work. So when she continued and was going on with the narrative that, you talk about conversations, but you don't want to have one with me, that is 100% correct. I do not wish to have a conversation with her at this time and place. Not ever, just at this time and place, because I know that it would not be conducive. Hence how we ended up to where we were, because it is too heated, it is too fresh, it is too we're still at a point where it can't be conducive. And it can't be conducive with, after that sentence where I'm listening to you and hearing you talk about conversations, where you then iterate that, but I did nothing wrong. So it's just like, oh, if we're gonna go down this route here, let's just talk about this and have it out, because it's ridiculous. I'm not going to allow you to have this narrative that you are the woe is out, where art with me kind of a person, and basically say that you're just this little pretty angel on a national platform, and I'm just overreacting over absolutely nothing, which is not correct.
Not to mention that this was a sneak attack, because again, the producers asked you not to discuss this. You did not know this was going to happen. You made it perfectly clear that you were not ready to discuss it. So again, when someone hurts you, they don't get to dictate your healing, and when you're ready to come to the table to discuss it, they don't get to hijack that process, which she did, and then tried to split the narrative, and then it backfired. Because I did my research before this interview, and I went on her page, and I was expecting the court of public opinion to be solely on her side because she's white passing, and that tends to be where the sympathy lies. And because in the disagreement, she seemed like the calm one, even though she's the one that initiated it. So I assumed that everyone will be team her, team her, team her. When I went on her page, predominantly 80% of the comments were, you know what you did, you knew that you planned this, you knew what you did behind the scenes, you didn't own it. I was like, wow, like people were forcing her to be accountable.
At the same time, I will let people speak their truth to a certain extent, as long as they're not trolling. Because I think it's important to be able to answer certain people's questions, because when you allow people to have and push out this narrative without responding to them, sometimes it can then fester and grow, because then you will have someone saying, oh, well, Kimora was like this or like that or like this. And it's just like, no. We're not going to do that. We're not going to try and have this be something that has been withstanding since the show, because I can be wholehearted and honest, at least from my side and from where I stood, we had never had an issue on the show. In fact, I would say that she was one of my closer confidants on the show.
And I'm glad you say that, because I want to bring that up, because there was a comment where it said that the rumors about you being a bully on the show must be true. And I was like, I've never heard that. So it's like, people are literally pulling stories out of their ass at this point to vilify you.
And I would love to hear, because I definitely was not a bully on the show. We did not have any issues during filming amongst the girls at all. There was never a sense of problems or anything else. However, I do know there was a queen that when she entered the room on episode 1 had a comment, and that never aired, but it didn't resonate with me then until we spoke about it later on, and she said, you see why I said what I said, when she walked in the room. And I was just like, oh yeah, now I get it. But on the show during filming, I filmed, and I've said this on many platforms and many interviews, she was right next to me the entire time. And we had a little bit of a bond, because we both love crystallizing things. We both love stoning garments. We're both from Central Latin America. Regardless of the skin tone you see, do not forget that I'm South American. So when people say, oh, you're being racist against her because of her language or because she's Latina, it's impossible. Almost quarter of my family is based still in Venezuela through my grandmother's side of the family. She talks about it all the time, about her family that's over there and how she's never been able to really connect with them in a very, very, very long time. And then so it's just asinine to think. And then we have family who travel from Guyana to Colombia all the time because we have family members who are in relationships with Colombians. So it's just ridiculous to think that I would be attacking her based on the language barrier. As I said in a post on Twitter, when the roast happened on the show, all of us, when we were all in a room writing all of our jokes, we all said that because this is a roast, we are supposed to be insulting. We're supposed to be rude. You're supposed to drag someone.
Yeah.
It's all about it's more than shade. Shade is like the reading challenge. This is a straight up dragging. It is a roast. So you're supposed to make fun of everything. Like as we all talked about Brooklyn's fillers and everything else, you find something and you tease them about it. And anything that we do can be seen as hateful, because that's basically what a roast is. It's hateful, but in a should be comedy sense. Now, how the editing came off of it and how my delivery of it maybe during that take was not the greatest, and I can own that. There is no way, shape, or form that this was a level of disrespect, because I had let her know. We had conversation. I said, hey, are you okay if I make fun of your accent? Can we do that? Yeah, great, powerful. Let's move. Let's do this.
And that's important because everyone's making it sound like she didn't want it. She wasn't aware of it. It wasn't warranted. I think what it's giving is that the audience was offended, and then she was like, oh wait, I should be offended too. Like, that's what it was giving, because during the show it didn't seem mean-spirited. I never got
I could not be mean-spirited to someone I respected. And I respected because her drag had a level of opulence that was
she's very talented.
Very talented. I always say her Cirque du Soleil look was phenomenal. It was a great recreation through a sketch and art. It was beautifully redone. And then her Marie Antoinette is by par none one of the best runways to touch Drag Race, period. History. Doesn't matter the franchise. That look was so intricate. Down to the macaroons being dusted with glitter. It was phenomenally done. I could never
take her talent away from her. She's very talented.
Could not. So for us to get from that place to where we are now, I want people to understand that is why I think I am as upset and hurt, because we had talked about traveling throughout Central and South America together. Me, her, Isis, Suki, Ocien, and really taking drag to places that don't have access to that type of drag, that level of drag, that performance drag, and really give them a little bit of love and show our support. We talked about going to Brazil. We had talked about touching base in Colombia. We had talked about there's this 3-story club in Colombia, and she says that's the one place that would be amazing to do it. We'd had these conversations. We were never at odds ever on the show. We were never at odds even post the show, until incidents started happening.
And you start to see the trends.
Right. Even to the point where I came home with her shoes. That's how close we were. First of all, we wore the same size, and somehow her gold glitter shoes ended up in my suitcase coming home. And when Pythia came to perform here in Toronto, and I went to go see Pythia perform, I gave Pythia the shoes back to give to her, because somehow they ended up in my luggage.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because everyone's like, not everyone, a select few people are trying to spin this narrative like you were bullying her from the show. And it's like, where did this come from? No one was doing any of that. The cast looked like you guys all got along, except for the few edits where Eva 6000, they tried to paint her in a certain light because of certain discussions. But other than that, for the most part, everyone seemed to have a camaraderie and like get along really well. So it's weird that they're trying to pull that out of nowhere. Like, I was like, I've never got the sense of that or heard about that from you either.
Yeah, no, like, because that was not a thing. It was never, as far as I know, it wasn't a thing. We shared some very, very close and intimate things on the show, just in that green room together, because we can never talk about things that we could bring up on the show. When we were able to have light conversations, we were able to talk about our lives that were not things that we would share publicly. And we were very honest and talked about a lot of private things with each other, and we shared a lot with each other. So that's what I'm saying. To go from there to where we are was night and day. The person who I met on that show is not the person who I see here. And it just shows me that how prominent outside influences can be.
Yes.
Because when you're in a bubble and you're just slowly in this bubble, and you only have this interaction, you get to be your authentic self to a certain degree. But you can tell that once she left, there was a lot of chatter, and some things started to migrate. And once that started to happen, you saw the changes, and it started with, honestly, because we were all a part of the same under the same management group at one time. And she said, she, as rightfully as she should, she wants to be under management that solely looks at her growth and her growth alone. She didn't want to look at the other girl. And that's fair. That's wholeheartedly, that's fair. We all wish we could have someone that is invested in just solely us, focus solely on us, and fully focus on our growth. That's not the practical reality of the real world when it comes to entertainment. But it's what we wish, and that's what she wanted for herself. And she decided to go left, which was fine. I didn't hold any grudges or anything further than that. In fact, I think we had a light conversation about it. And I'm like, baby girl, go get what you have to get. You know, I know I don't have that available to me, so that's okay. I know what I have to do to grow myself and do what I have to do for myself. You got to do what you got to do for you. And that's where our last conversation and last kind of interaction that was positive stopped.
So what happened after the clip ended? So the clip ended with your assistant on the stage trying to diffuse everything. What happened after that ended?
So after that ended, T.S. Madison said, let's have a group hug. Now, I don't know if anyone knows where I was, but I was not in a place for a group hug.
No.
I was like, she was like, let's just hug this out. Let's just get, and I understand that.
Of course, yeah.
So sometimes
the host is supposed to bring everyone together, and
right. We were here in love. We're here in passion. I was not there. I literally think I said group hug. Fuck that. And I literally was just like, no, I'm out of here. And I left the stage because.
So what happened backstage? Like when you got back there, like were you fuming with the queen?
I was fuming. Oh, absolutely, I was fuming. The producers were like swarming me, and they were just wholeheartedly apologizing. They're like, we are so sorry. This was not supposed to happen. This was not supposed to end this way. We're sorry. We knew that she was going to say something, but we thought it was going to be positive. We did not expect this outcome. And they were basically apologizing. And I said, you know what? This is why I agreed to it being fluffy, and this is why I abided by the rules. And I felt that she caught me off guard. Number one, because I originally went in there thinking, okay, be prepared. But when the producers kind of put down the gauntlet and said, bitches, this is going to be cute, this is going to be fluffy.
Let your guard down. You're like, I don't need exactly.
I don't need to be on guard. I don't need to be defensive. I'm with my sisters. I'm on the side with my sisters. And then I'm also interacting with the people. They're having questions for everyone. The little drama that happened had nothing to do with me. It was great. I'm just there sipping and drinking and looking pretty. So I was caught off guard. So it really did bring me to a heightened level. And the good thing after it was OCN came and spoke to me like right after, when I was before I had even reached the green room. And she was just like, girl, you know what I've been through, you know what's happened in the past with me and whoever and whatever in situations. But just relax, calm down. Don't let it bother you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard in that place to not let something like that bother you, especially when someone was trying to flip the script and flip the narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I went to the green room, had a drink again, that drink, and then T.S. Madison came to the back, and she was just like, I don't know what happened, I don't know what was going on. But I explained to her the situation, and she's just like, baby, this is just me and Kaya all over again. Like, this is literally that same situation. She said she hasn't spoken to her since that they had their falling out. So it was nice to kind of hear about someone else's take on it, and that it was a little bit of a reflection. So I knew that, what was happening wasn't alien, because you feel so out of sorts when it happens. And you feel like this is not happening to anybody else. Because amongst the sisters, even though there's issues, there is none of this drawn out drama. Because they either nip it in the bud and curse out whoever they have to curse out right away and just leave it. And they have the residual drama that isn't addressed. Or it ends up like me, where we don't really address it because we're not in a place to, and it slowly just festers. So she gave me some advice, which was beautiful and poignant, and I took it. Yeah, I kind of went home. After that, I was a wreck, so I had to leave.
So did you see that person, we're not going to mention her name to trigger you, but did you see her after you went backstage, or did production keep you guys separate?
No, production kept us separate.
Okay.
They just kept us 100% separate the rest of the time. And that was fine, and that was very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
We took separate Mario Kart back, and that was kind of the end of my DragCon experience. It gave me my wonderful gift bag, which I've yet to open up. All I saw that there was kimchi cosmetics in it, which I'm so excited about. But they gave me my wonderful gift bag, and then that was kind of, and I just said, I can't do this anymore, because the energy had just been drained out of me.
It was triggering. It was, as a person of color seeing it, I knew instantly the negative backlash that would come from it. I knew the stereotypes. I knew that, especially when a white passing person plays the passive aggressive role, the microaggressions, where I didn't do anything. Meanwhile, they're trying to get you fired or lose gigs or ruin your reputation. Then in public, they're miscongeniality. And then they keep poking the bear to get a reaction out of you. And then when you react, oh my God, you're the aggressive one. That's why she react. Like, it's like, you can't win.
and that's a difficult thing, is they're able to do things behind the scenes that are damaging and hurtful. And then they're able to do little microaggressive things in public, which then sets you off because of all the compounded issues that have happened until then. And then when you actually lose it, and I didn't even lose it that much, I just raised my voice. When that happens, it marks you as this big bad beast. Yep. And it's unfortunate that, and it's something I've always said, but it's something I've iterated a lot recently. When you are a darker skinned person of color, especially a Black person, you are not able to have the range of emotions that include anger or being upset.
Because you're aggressive.
You have to always be 100% in control of yourself, or else you are deemed this monster, this vile creature that's come out of the woodworks, and you are this angry, upset person. Which, yes, I am angry and upset because I've been attacked and I'm being lied on and I'm being lied about right on national television because someone is saying that they're not doing anything wrong, which means that any action I have had, whether just expressing myself or maybe having a little bit of a petty moment here or there, is not warranted. And that's not fair in any way, shape, or form, because I am allowed to have a range of emotions. I'm allowed to feel anger. I'm allowed to express my anger in any way, shape, or form when someone comes out, as long as I'm not, number one, being verbally abusive, which I did not do. I did use one swear word, and that was it alone. And not being physically abusive. I did not harm anyone. I did not leave my seat.
That's yeah.
Oh, a bitch had to readjust. But I did not leave my seat. My hand stretched. And that was just to wave a finger.
And security didn't have to jump up on the stage.
Did I ever get verbally abusive, or never did I get physically abusive? And I want people to understand that just because I have a very deep voice and a very strong tone, and I command a room whenever I open up my mouth and get to a place, does not mean that I am aggressive. It means I'm strong, but it does not mean I'm aggressive.
Passionate. I like passionate.
I like passionate too. Passionate is nice, but passionate for the bedroom. I like passionate, which I am currently with my purple silk sheets.
Right. So to my knowledge, no queens so far have publicly addressed the situation, have taken sides, like said, I'm team so-and-so or so-and-so. To me, that in a sense speaks for itself, because if you were as wrong as some people want to make others believe you were, I feel like, especially if there was an instance of violence or something of that nature, the queens would have spoken out unequivocally and said, Kimora's wrong, we do not condone her actions. The fact that there's pretty much radio silence pretty much says what it needs to say. The silence to me is a response.
So it is an absolute response. The response is, as well, is that the girls do not want to get into the mess, nor have I ever asked any of the girls to pipe up or say anything. Now, the only thing I will say is I do wish that some of the girls who have had issues would speak their truth, but that's not for me to dictate, because they may not want to enter the fray, and I know one of the queens, if not both of them, have settled their issues to the point where they don't talk to her.
Okay.
So they, and I will say this, Suki did say something in code. There was a sub that Suki put out, and it basically says exactly what I've been saying, that when half of the cast has an issue with you or does not speak to you, that should speak a lot, or that says a lot. I'm paraphrasing, but that was directed at who we think it was.
So to confirm, you're not the only queen that has an issue with her.
I am not the only queen that has an issue.
You're not the only one that has been allegedly targeted.
I am not the only one who has been allegedly targeted. Some people have just dragged them on their own.
So let me take it a step further, because people want to say, oh, you're throwing around the racism card. Are the other queens that have been targeted, are they all POCs, people of color?
They are.
Okay. That's just take with it what you will, because again, on this channel, I want honesty and transparency, and we're not here to shift anyone's opinions. Your opinions are what they are. You're gonna believe what you believe. But I want to just show that when people are throwing around these things and these terms, it's because there's a trend here, and the trend here is people who look like us.
Exactly. But I also don't want the fandom to believe that I wholeheartedly just think that she's being racist and she's just a plain racist. I don't think that entirely. There is a lot of socio-racism that is basically underlying in society and accepted through society. There is a lot of narratives and a lot of things that I feel like people take advantage of. And I think people know that they get away with because we are people of color.
What triggered you in that moment when she just caught you off guard? Like, what was it that made that triggered you emotionally when she said what she said?
The moment she literally said, I did nothing wrong. Like, I actually had to hear it and wait and process it for a second because I couldn't believe what I heard. And then I had to interrupt her because I was just like, oh, okay, baby. The one thing we ain't gonna do is claim
We
you
ain't
didn't
starting
do
here.
anything.
We ain't doing this.
But that is not what we are doing today. We are not going to pretend that you did nothing wrong. You did do something wrong on several occasions, and you also allowed your partner to have negative things to say about me and spreading it around. So clearly, things have been done.
So I'm glad you mentioned her
I had to
partner.
address that.
I'm glad you mentioned her partner. That's something else I also want to clear up. Who was the person in the video that called out that you were cyberbullying her? I see that term thrown around so many different times.
I still am not sure. A few people have a few guesses. Someone said it's her drag queen best friend, which could be a possibility because I know the person's a little bit of a stockier build. Someone said that it is her manager, which I think if that is her manager, that was immensely unprofessional. It was unprofessional, period. But again, whoever had something to say,
it seemed like someone who had personal knowledge from her side of things. It didn't seem like a fan. It seemed like someone part of their entourage.
It was absolutely not a fan. It was absolutely an entourage.
Yeah.
And I would love to address the idea of me cyberbullying. Absolutely not. I have addressed my situation. I have been petty in some of the comments I may say, but never, ever, ever have I cyber bullied. I haven't stalked. I haven't gone on her page and berated her. I haven't said that she is this, that, or the other. I haven't called her out her name.
Which she has done. We'll address that later. We'll address that later.
So I have not done any of that. So with that being said, yeah, that's just false. That again, another false narrative that I'm the one out here doing the bullying because I'm simply responding to actions that are taken that's happening behind the scenes.
In private. Not to mention that people have a short memory. They were mad at you because they felt like you were subbing and not mentioning. So if you're not mentioning someone by name and they're mad because you're not telling who it is, because at first they didn't even know who it was. It was a process of elimination. They were trying to figure out which queen you were talking about. So you're not mentioning her by name. You're not adding her. You're not sending people to her page. You're not posting her likeness, her picture, but you're cyberbullying her. Again, make it make sense.
Yeah, when it comes to her, I have never cyberbullied. I have definitely made references to situations, but I have never added. And in fact, I have, the moment the initial incident happened and I was not getting any answers, nor was I getting any respect or actually having anything done after I said to all the sisters that I feel like the sisterhood is over. It's done because we cannot even be honest with each other about this thing. And I left that group. I blocked her on every avenue and I walked away. I said not a word to her post that. Did she reach out and say she would like to talk to me? I said she absolutely did.
And
did I say not right now?
For it on her Twitter. It's like, okay, that's nice that you did that. And I'll post the picture here. But you're doing that. There's no obligation for the other party to respond to you. So just because you reached out doesn't mean they're ready to receive it, and doesn't mean that they're ready to talk to you about it. So that doesn't mean that, oh, I've done everything, and there was no other way for her to address us other than at DragCon.
Exactly, and mind you, if she wanted to address it at DragCon, we had been in situations where she could have tapped my shoulder and said, "Sis," or "Kimora, I know we've had problems. I would like to talk to you one day." I'm not receptive to have a conversation at this point, but I could easily say we can have a conversation one day, just not right now, and be able to be cool with that. But she did not do that. We were alone. We were in speaking distance when we were all preparing for the Queen's Walk at the beginning of DragCon. We were in ears distance several occasions when I've walked past her booth. She could have easily touched me and said hi and said, "Can I have a moment?" And also when we were We were waiting for the Mario Karts, as I call them, because they're not golf carts, because golf carts do not move like that. When we were waiting for the Mario Karts, she was on one side of the area, I was on the other. And literally she could have tapped my shoulder and said something to me, if so be the case, if she really wanted to at that time. Had Latrice not come out and kind of started talking to me, she would have had that opportunity. Again, when we were in the green room before the show started, but when she was able to go and let production know that she had something to say and she wanted to deal with this. But she could have easily pulled me aside, pulled me outside and said, hey, can we have a smoke? I don't smoke cigarettes, but she goes, could we have a smoke? And let's have a talk.
But see, I'm glad you addressed that, because
happen.
everyone's making it sound like that was her one and only opportunity. Like,
Absolutely
this was an event that was a weekend long. So there was various different times that were more appropriate than a segment where the producers specifically asked her not to address it then and there.
And there was also a specific time that did not have a national, or correction, an international platform. Now, you can hear that she did iterate that she was taking this moment to get her narrative out, because she said, oh, you have a platform. And I said, well, I will continue to use my platform.
And she has a platform also.
She does. She got way more followers than me. She got double, if not more than the amount of followers that I have. So the people who she's able to reach, if she really wanted to reach them, she could have easily done that if she wanted to clarify her narrative so long ago. However, she remained quiet in order to pretend like I'm, I guess, just talking bullshit. Because if you don't address it, it doesn't exist. People love that kind of ideology behind things. And no, that's not always true or correct. And the reason why I spoke out is because things are always happening behind the scenes, and I can't vocalize anything because I'm not connected like she's connected in the drag world, especially not in Montreal. She has much more connections and much more things happening than I do. So with that being said, I had to use the one thing I knew, how to at least get my side across, so people could hear my side of things instead of hearing the narrative between her and her partner that were delivering things that were being said about me. So I used my platform, and I will continue to use my platform, or in this situation, your platform, for
Thank you.
for the ability to speak to people, because there needs to have clarification. There needs to be, at least I can only speak for my side of things. She has her own side of things, but again, the things that she's not addressing are the things that were the catalysts of why we got here. She's posted a recent receipt, and I don't know how it's a receipt, because we both said that she sent that letter. I never said she didn't send that letter, and it didn't state that. The connotations behind things that she said in that letter were the fact that there is that trigger word of keeping her away from me, and what that implies, and also the conversation that happened after that with some other people involved with our tour, that had to do with me as a person.
So she posted her receipt, which I'm also going to link here, where she says it's basically her tour rider and the things that she requests, and she has scribbled out like names, and a name which we assume is yours, that she doesn't want to be anywhere near you.
Yes.
Again, for the audience, this is before the DragCon events, where people could argue that Kimora was aggressive and not aggressive. So this was, again, before that. So if you guys have never had a blow up,
we had not spoken when that rider went out. I believe those riders went out in December, because our tour was originally planned for January. So I want to say those riders went out early December. So we had not spoken to each other probably for about 3 or 4 months at that point. No communication at all.
So you've never had an instance where someone could perceive you as aggressive towards her, any outgoing beef or anything that was
The only thing that happened in between then and there was the post I made on both Instagram and on your social about how I was feeling with the situation happening. And I was trying my hardest at the time to be
diplomatic.
Diplomatic, and also to not get too deep into it, because you don't want to bring out everything that's happening into detail. You want to talk about there's a discussion. You want to say that people are talking bad and poor about you, but you don't want to bring up details that didn't need to be there. So I tried to be very diplomatic.
And you don't want to give
that.
certain things light, especially if they're not true. You don't want to give certain things light that
Exactly.
are not out there.
And in some areas there are some gray areas that have happened. So like I said, the initial incident, there is a huge dark gray area that I know I personally will never get the truth around, and I know some of the other girls will never get the truth around, because there are a lot of friendships and there are a lot of things that tie in together, and people will cover for each other. So I already know that we will never ever get to the true details of what happened with the first incident that caused me to leave the group and separate myself from the group conversation with the girls.
So just to be clear, again, there was no instance of you being aggressive towards her that would warrant her requesting in her rider that I prefer being far from crossed out, which is assumed to be Kimora.
That's correct. So, and I said the only thing, and which is what I believe you have said, and I have also noticed when in some of the comments under the video, when someone said that, oh, I threatened to kill her.
Yes, let's address that too. Yes.
Yes, let's
the Mary, what is it called? Mary Sex to Kill?
Oh frick.
I think it's Mary Sex to
Fuck, Marry, Kill, Date, Marry.
Yes.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah, Fuck, Marry, Kill, or Sex, Marry,
Fuck,
Kill.
Marry, yeah. Like, who would you have sex with? Who would you marry, and who would you kill?
Yes.
And I don't remember who the hell I said. I know Isis was one of them. I don't know if it was under Fuck or Marry. Because I love that bitch. Like, what can I say?
We love your sister.
I honestly don't remember who was my list. I want to say it was Kendall and Isis, perhaps, or Gia and Isis. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Kendall. It was probably in there because she's fine as hell out of drag also.
Kendall and Gia are some
good-looking.
First of all, almost all the cast are some great-looking people outside of drag. Don't get it twisted.
Absolutely.
We are handsome men. I'm handsome with a beard. But we are some good-looking men, and I can honestly say Kendall and Gia are some good-looking dudes.
Yeah.
No shade.
I love Kendall.
No shade. They are some good-looking dudes.
Yeah. So for the remedial students that don't seem to get it, don't understand race relations, the obvious undertones of racism here, break it down for them. What does I want to be far from this person who has otherwise has done nothing to you other than silent treatment or Twitter back and forth, whatever it be, addressing your side of things? What does that look like when it's on a rider to a promoter?
So when that looks, it looks like I am out to get her. And like I said, there was things that were said after that kind of confirmed that I was this aggressive person that's out to get her, and that I am, basically, for lack of better words, threatening her in some way, shape, or form. Because if you're going to put that is a dog whistle kind of a statement to say that this person's aggressive, keep me away from this person because they're going to hurt me, they're going to harm me. This person is right. You feel threatened by them. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it wasn't a literal sense of her saying, I feel threatened by you, but more so it was the connotations she had within that letter, and then furthermore with the conversations that were had about me and who I am as a person with people who were working with Boss.
And I did see a comment that addressed that because she posted that receipt like that was a smoking gun, and a
Yeah.
fan underneath it was just like, that proves nothing. That's what you put in writing. That doesn't address what you said to people and the private discussions.
And that's
people
just
that operate like that.
She's trying to use. Yep.
People who operate like that are smart enough not to put the kind of stuff in writing. She's not going to say, don't put me near her because she's an N-word, yes, or don't put me near her because I'm afraid of her, or I feel threatened by her. They're going to make it look innocent, like, please don't have me. It's a passive aggressiveness, yes, the microaggressions. And that's where the race relations comes in.
Exactly.
And people that don't get it need to be more cognizant of that and how it reads, because it doesn't read very well,
yes,
when there's an entire cast of 12 of you and you're the only one that's being singled out here. And the other person from the sounds of it that could have been singled out here seems to be more not as outspoken as you are. So yes, again, when you're not the person who speaks up for yourself all the time, you're not going to be seen as a threat. The person who does speak up and voice their opinions and will call you out on your BS is obviously going to be the threat.
Of course, and that's exactly it, because the other person who she had the issue with, there's no mention of that person, and that person has already said, I do not want anything to do with you. I don't want to be around you. I'm good. So if that person has already iterated that and made that very clear, yet I'm the person who hasn't had a conversation with you yet. Mm-hmm. Is the person you want to be kept away from, really? And that
but you're
just
so aggressive,
goes to
though.
show, because there are levels. Okay.
You won't talk to her, won't respond to her messages, won't give her the time of day, but you're threatening and aggressive.
Yes. Okay. Exactly.
So with that said, yeah.
And that is part of the issue, mm-hmm, and I know it's coming off lighter than what it is right now, because we're having a calm, rational conversation about these things. Yeah. But when you really look at the connotations, it is defaming, it is dehumanizing, mm-hmm, because it reduces me to being less than an animal.
And
because
not to mention,
at the same time, I could have said, I could have easily have said, I don't feel comfortable because of everything she's doing. However, this is the difficult things a lot of people of color have to deal with. Mm-hmm. When issues happen, especially in the workplace, we are often, because we're not often believed, we shut up and we deal with it. I knew that I have to be on tour with her. We're going to have to be on a tour bus in a certain situation that is a confined quarters. I know that at the end of the day, I'm not trying to rock the boat. So I said, I think all I put down is, can I have a fan? And please have a meal for me after I get out of drag. That's all I requested. Because I don't eat because of the corsets I wear. The most I will have is like a green smoothie before I do any drag, anything. So yeah, those are my only requests. I did not put our drama into our request, because that is not and does not need to be included when with management or with anything that requires anything. And they don't need to be involved. It's unprofessional, and it would not be something that would have to be addressed by our tour managers. Absolutely not. Why on earth would I get to or need to have something like that as two grown adults have to have our tour employers involved in petty squabbles that I just didn't want to deal with or address further with the person at the time.
Not to mention the nature of the field entertainment that you work in. Your reputation is everything. So if you are given a reputation out there by her or anyone else as a difficult queen, promoters are not going to book you. And there goes your bag. So it's dangerous. Things like that are being done behind the scenes, and people expect you to just shut up and smile and be professional and do all the things that they expect us to do and turn the other cheek. This is serious. This is a 5-alarm fire. You're stopping my bag. And if I say nothing,
thank you. Okay.
No one knows that this is happening, they're not willing to hear my side. They're just like, they're going to take your word as gospel. and stop my
Yep.
bag. Your reputation is literally all that you have, that you depend on bookings and being able to make a living for yourself.
Exactly. My name is all I have. Who I am is all I have to my name. So when you start to sully that in any way, shape, or form, you are bringing direct harm to me. And if you have no problem bringing direct harm to me, your sister, the person who you sat next to for almost 2 months, that says a lot to me about who you are as a person and the advice you're probably getting from other people.
And that makes you a dangerous person.
Oh, it does. It shows me that you're willing to be sneaky, underhanded, and because, mind you, I should have never found out about that letter.
Of course not. But that would have
been on the strength about that letter.
Exactly. That's on the strength of people knowing that that's not your character and that's not who you are. And that's the thing. Even correct. People who meet you in person, like, people can have their perceptions of you based on whatever they saw on TV or whatnot, but people who have met you in person know that you are a sweetheart and you have a huge heart.
Yeah.
And like, when I'm reading the comments, I'm seeing comments like, I didn't like her from the first episode. I'm like, how do you dislike someone from the very first episode when other than you, I didn't know anyone in the cast, and I couldn't formulate an opinion because I didn't even know people's names, much less dislike someone. So if I'm seeing comments like, I disliked her from the first episode, I'm like,
I guess being funny, cute, and being the narrator is an issue for some people.
Even Eva 6000, which was supposed to be the season's villain, even her, I didn't have an opinion about the first episode. I was like, I was judging you guys based on your looks and how you were. I couldn't say I dislike this person or that person. Like, how do you dislike someone in the first 5 minutes? Like, I mean,
but again, you're talking about a fandom that is unfortunately deep-rooted in racism. Toxic racism.
You told me that before, and I didn't believe it until I started seeing the comments, and I'm like, how do you hate someone you never met a day in your life?
Okay,
like, that is crazy to me.
And if I'm on TV for a cumulative 5 minutes, you hate me from an accumulative 5 minutes on television.
Do you plan on ever having a sit down with her and airing this out at some point? What will it take? Time-wise, healing-wise?
Time-wise, no time soon. Time-wise, no time soon, to be honest. Like, even when we go on tour, I have no intention, as I had no intention, as I said when I was on the podcast. I said I have no intention of having this conversation. I'm not ready for it. I'm not in a good space for it. I do not want to have it, because it will cause me to become very extremely upset, because as I knew, because before Isis went and was filming season 3, she let me know that there were conversations that she had when she was in Montreal for a show with her, and she iterated that, you know what, she was ready to apologize and missed our friendship and really wanted to squash the issues and kind of move on from it. And in that moment, I called bullshit. The first thing I said was bullshit. And because I was like, you wouldn't be doing what you did if ultimately you wanted to have a come to Jesus moment.
Exactly.
So because of that, I knew it was bullshit, and I said it was bullshit then, and I said I had no intention of having any further conversation at that point. I said, nope, I'm good. Thank you. Let's keep going. I'm good.
And you wouldn't hijack a panel to say these things when you weren't supposed to and start out by saying, but I did nothing wrong. If you did nothing wrong and you know you did nothing wrong, then what do you need to apologize for? What do you need to make right if you did nothing wrong? If you really truly did nothing wrong, what do you need to make right? Okay, I'm just gonna leave that there. So I saw your tweets recently where you addressed the tour will be basically the final and last time that you see and deal with her. So like, where do we go from here?
There is nowhere to go. I know a lot of people always think that you need to have that closure, that final moment to properly move on. I don't need that. I know what's healthy for me, and what's healthy for me is just to continue pushing. Canada is big enough for me to have, the world is big enough for me to have my career and not have to interact with her. And if I have to interact with her in some way, shape, or form, then it will happen. But to go out of my way and say that, oh, I'm going to search for healing between us, I'm not Tamisha and Candy. I don't need to walk down the aisle of DragCon holding hands in a kumbaya, loving kind of place. That's not necessary. And mind you, there is nothing that I feel the two of them had an issue that really affected them in that type of a way. They had a disagreement on the show. It was based on some snide little comments and some other things that happened, and they just didn't want to speak to each other. They needed their time to heal, and that was that.
As Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
The first time. So yeah. So in this situation, I'm not searching for any healing, any betterment, or anything else, because again, for those things to happen, someone has to be wholeheartedly honest. And I said that on the stage, and I will say it now. You have to own your dirt. Just like I have to own the fact that I was petty and that I did raise my voice in that situation. I have to own that. That's something that I have to attest to. That's something that I have to deal with. And any ramifications from that is something that is on me.
So what would you have done differently in this situation if you could do it all over? If we could turn back the dial to the beginning of her mentioning that she wanted to have a discussion, like what would you have done differently? Is the connection froze?
No, in my current place, it wouldn't have been anything nice. Because I'm just like, because I'm the type of person, and I know it's a horrible thing, but I'm like, if people want to pay me out to be a monster, allow me to be a monster. Allow me to be a monster. If you want me to be a monster, allow me to be the monster that you claim me to be. So that way, whenever you call me a monster, I can say, yeah, I did it. And but no, to be honest, the only thing I wish I did was the same thing I wish I did on Drag Race, which is to stand up and walk off, period. Just walk off, not deal with it, not address it. I know it would look like that I'm just walking away from a situation.
And then they would have said, oh, she's running away from her problems. So it's like, you can't win. If I respond, I get elevated, I'm aggressive. What, I walk away, I'm a punk. Like,
no matter what, because I still walked away and I was still a punk. Right. So, because I didn't want to hug nobody. So I honestly don't think there's anything I could have done. To be truly honest, anything different. I could, because no matter what, if I had just sat there and nodded and said, okay, I would have let her get away with being able to create a narrative where she looks like the innocent party in all of this. If I had remained somewhat composure, it would have looked as if there was no issue. And there is an issue.
A huge issue.
So to be honest, there is nothing I think I could have done other than it just not happen. I just wish it didn't happen. It was not the place. I was not in the frame of mind. I was having a great time to be around the excellence,
the legends,
that was in
icons.
That room, the legends, the icons, the Drag Race royalty,
the pioneers.
Baby, when Alaska Thunderfuck comes up to you after your performance and said, "Oh, I got all of that," that was wonderful.
You made it. You've arrived.
when you're bumping into people like Monet Exchange, the moment because I thought I missed the Queen Walk because we were stuck in traffic. So I literally legit thought I missed the queen walk. When I got there and realized everyone was still just congregating, I was just in my body. I threw open my suitcase in the middle of the back room and threw on every piece of garment. Within 5 minutes, I had that dress.
And it speaks wonders that they know who you are, because just a year ago, you guys were filming and no one knew who KimoraAmour was from Toronto.
Shit.
You know what I'm saying?
I had all of 500 people on my Instagram. 500.
Literally. And to go from that last year of being a relatively unknown, except for the pageantry world, to being on the national platform that you're on and people knowing who you are by name, by first name at that, Beyonce, you know, like Kimora, you don't even have to say Amour for people to know who they're talking about. That's amazing. And I think that speaks to your talent. You deserve to be in the room, whether people believe you do or not. And regardless if they like you or don't like you, you're here to stay. And that's just something that they're going to have to deal with.
I ain't going no goddamn where. I have literally made history in many shapes and form, and I will go down as the queen who did A, B, C, and D, regardless of
and many iconic moments during that season that we talked about many, many years from now.
Oh yeah, DragCon was, until that moment, a high. I was right, like moments before this situation happened, I was literally speeding through the backstage of the LA Convention Center on a go-kart with Latrice, and her husband's holding my hand for dear life as we thought we were gonna fall out the Mario Kart. You know, like literally the moments I got to have, like even sitting down when we were having lunch and Willow Pill was sitting down, and I just went over to congratulate her, and she goes, "Girl, you enjoying yourself? I'm so tired."
Not to mention that this almost didn't happen because of financial constraints, and you were sponsored, and this almost didn't happen. So for you to go through all these hoops for it to finally happen, for it to culminate and end like this. Even in her apology, if we can call it an apology, I don't think
it was not an apology. That was not an apology.
I'm gonna post it here. I'm not gonna read it because I read it and I just went cross-eyed about it. But then she ends with, "Besides you, because you're being a bitch."
Okay.
And again, people read her for filth in the comments because they're like, how do you draft an apology and end the apology by calling the person you're apologizing to a bitch? It just reads insincerity. It reads no growth. You don't even know what you're apologizing for. You couldn't help but make another dig in there. An apology is supposed to come from the heart. It's supposed to be sincere. It's supposed to be acknowledgement, and none of which occurred here.
This is why I said I didn't even have to hear about that or know. And because as I said, I know the other situation that happens, that have happened between other girls and everything else, I call bullshit. I know when someone is sincere and when they're being manipulative and trying to pull strings. And she's done that. She's tried to do that with several queens to try and have this like, oh, I'm so upset, I'm so distraught, this is destroying me. But then still doing things behind my back to try and paint me out to be something else. And again, that's a perfect example. You draft this supposed apology and then end with the fact that you're a bitch. And so I know some people have said that, oh well, you called her Voldemort. And I said yes, because she is who must not be named. I will not give her name power to come out of my mouth, because I wholeheartedly believe that when you speak someone's name, you invoke power. And I'm not going to provide or give that power to someone, because that is that's just not what I'm about. It's why I light my candles and I have my incense going and I have my drink, pour some for the ancestors. It's not what I'm about. I'm not going to call you out your name, because baby, y'all know me. I am the first person to call you a rascal, you know, whatever. I have a plethora of words I could have called her, and I didn't do that out of, again, trying to be professional in some way, shape, or form.
So how will you address her going forward? Like when you
There is no addressing her.
So when you guys have to interact during the tour,
We
like what will
don't
that
have to interact.
Okay.
Like the only thing is that we were eliminated back to back. I'm 6, she's 5. So literally, we're going to be standing next to each other if they do things by order of elimination. Those are the only things that could possibly do. As far as I know, for our opening act on tour, I'm with Ocean and Suki, I believe. They may change because that was months and months ago when we had that discussion. But yeah, we're in different pods. We're not in the same pod, as per her requests. So
her writer.
So, as per her writer. Because I baby, I thought you were gonna be like J-Lo and ask for everything white.
So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you want the Drag Race fans to know? Anything that we missed in this? I don't think we could have possibly missed anything, but
we you know what, we probably could in some way, shape, or form, but I don't think there's anything really to further address. We are not going to have a kumbaya moment. It's not going to happen because I do not wish to deal with that because I'm not in that space. Could a kumbaya moment happen again for a nominal fee? Possibly.
Zeus Network.
I was beating myself up because the idea that I am this huge negative monster is not something that I want to promote, nor is it someone who it's not something I claim, and it's not who I am as a person. I am a strong person. I am a person who calls people out for bullshit and will continue to do that. But I'm definitely going to take a minute for myself and really kind of center me, because I think that is really, 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 really important right now, is to ensure that my mental health from being triggered the way it was is addressed, is dealt with, and is in a place of peace, so I can continue, because the tour is going to happen. And when I enter when I enter those halls, when I do what I have to do, I want to ensure that I am exuding me in a happy place, in a positive place, and that anything that is around me won't faze me. I gave y'all something to talk about at DragCon this year.
You did. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit with me to clear up all the misconceptions and the rumors I wanted to address as the video's gone viral. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you for tuning into Single Black Gay Dad. Please subscribe and like this video if you haven't already, and share if you care. And I'll catch you in the next one.